Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to 7 Levels of AI Delegation. My name is Ravi Verma. I'm your host today and presenter. And I'm so happy to be here with a friend and my colleague, Nikhil Walvekar, who is CTO of a SaaS product, Al Dente, we are building together, and also CTO of Rezoomex. Thank you for joining us. I want to do a quick check. If you can hear me, can you type a brief message on the chat window to let me know what the audio is like, please? Okay, audio is good. Thank you so much. Are you able to see the screen? 7 Levels of AI Delegation. The title slide. All right, screen is visible. At any point, I'll be monitoring the webinar chat. So if anything comes up, please do let us know and we'll adjust. And let's get started. So here are the goals. By the end of this session, what Nikhil and I want to do is we want to give you a model that offers you 7 choices, 7 ways to engage or not engage with AI. We'll use 2 examples to illustrate how to use this model. All models are wrong, some are useful. So our hope is that you will walk away with some useful tips. One example will be parenting, me as a parent of 2 middle school children, and then Nikhil is going to illustrate how to use this model in the context of software product development. And then we will give you an opportunity to ask us questions. And then you can also apply for a free consultation from Nikhil and me. And based on the number of applications that we get, we will decide as our schedule permits. All right. Let's do a roadmap. So the roadmap for the presentation, we'll introduce ourselves. We'll see some patterns that Nikhil and I are noticing. Then I'm going to introduce the model. I'll illustrate how to use the model for parenting. Nikhil is going to illustrate how to use the model for product development. We'll do Q&A and next steps. But first, I need to tell you a little bit about our meetup and just some housekeeping. So I'm going to introduce myself, give you some housekeeping rules, tell you about the history of our meetup, our upcoming event, and our sponsor. So my background, my mission is to help tech organizations achieve sustainable, measurable business results, but not at the cost of the joy of their people. And many times in tech, especially in these days, it's a brutal time to be in tech. Management is often torn between, shall I keep my investors happy or shall I keep my people happy? And I feel it's a false choice. You don't have to choose both. It's easy to choose one and sacrifice the other. And I feel it's a false choice that you have to choose one, rather. I misspoke. One, you can have both. And that's, I think, the art and craft of leadership. How can I navigate this tension? And that's my mission. Let's do housekeeping. Session is being recorded. You'll be in listen-only mode. But if you notice my head kind of swiveling, I've got the webinar chat panel here. I've got the webinar Q&A panel here. So you have ways to interact with us. We'd love to hear from you, or rather read from you. So please use the Q&A panel to ask questions, chat panel for any other comments. Just managing expectations. We may not be able to answer all the questions. We'll do our best to answer as many as we can. If we can't, you can request a follow-on complimentary consult from Nikhil and me if our schedule allows. We'll be happy to do a completely free consultation session. Let's talk about our meetup. So I can't believe it. It's been like going to be 12 years since I co-founded this meetup in Dallas, Texas, long time ago. Those days, it was called Agile DevOps, DFW. I'm dating myself. DevOps was the rage. We were trying to ride the wave. And then I recently rebranded it to human-centered tech transformation. Technology has started touching every aspect of our lives. I just want to make sure that we don't leave behind human beings, whether it's our customers, our users, our people who work on the technology, especially those who often get left behind during times of upheaval. So that's the focus of our meetup. I want to facilitate conversations which help us harness technology in service of the well-being of people. Cadence is usually monthly, once a month, Wednesday or Thursday. Webinars usually 11 a.m. because I'm trying to accommodate people, let's say in Asia and people in the Pacific coast. So there's no good time for everyone, but this feels like it's a least bad time. I just started resume my in-person meetups in Dallas, Fort Worth. That's where I live. So my first meetup in my new location is coming up in a couple of weeks here in Plano, Texas. And then, unless there are some glitches, the recordings will be available on our YouTube channel. We also have short videos and recordings of past webinars. So if our content resonates with you, please go subscribe to our YouTube channel and see if there's anything else that might help you. Upcoming event, Nikhil and I have worked together to create a canvas which helps you connect the activities that your team is performing to the financial benefit of your company. And we've created a step-by-step approach to help you create a scoreboard. So I will be introducing this approach. It's a canvas that Nikhil and I have co-created. It's a fill-in-the-blanks canvas. So I'll be introducing this to our attendees in our next meetup. All right. This meetup is made possible by my company, Org Whisperers. Our goal is to help organizations develop strong teams, inspiring leaders at all levels. Here are some symptoms of typical clients or symptoms that our typical clients face or observe. So usually in tech companies, one of the common problems are releases are late, they're buggy, clients don't love the features, user experience is terrible. So then customers and users start getting frustrated and they start canceling contracts. They start bad mouthing you, and then your average recurring revenue, your profit goes down. Investors get upset. They put pressure on management. Management starts putting pressure on the teams. The teams get demoralized, and it's just a vicious cycle, which causes a lot of needless destruction of human potential. So we offer targeted solutions to break this pattern. We help the leaders get clarity about what they want and to communicate effectively and trust and support their teams while still holding them accountable. We help product owners and product managers be like entrepreneurs. We help you design and nurture containers for self-managing high-performing teams. And then we help you grow excellence from just one or two isolated pockets to all aspects, all parts of your organization. So that's what we do. If you think any of these symptoms sound familiar, if you're curious to see if we can help you, please contact us, allwhisperers.com. So now let's go to the main event, the reason why you're here, 7 levels of AI delegation. I already introduced myself, so I'd like to invite Nikhil to introduce himself. So Nikhil and I, we got to know each other because Nikhil was working with, Nikhil works at a former client of mine, Rezoomex. And then I love working with Nikhil. I requested him to help me as a CTO for my SaaS product, Al Dente. I've just loved working with him. And I'm so honored to be co-presenting with him. So Nikhil, please tell our audience anything you would like them to know about you.
Sure. Thank you, Ravi. So I've been in the tech industry for now over 2 decades. I won't call it as like I've seen all the transformation. Like there have been some things, but majority one which are like from the .com till now the AI. So I've been like witnessed it and fortunate enough to participate into those that way. So I'm currently working as CTO across a couple of ventures. One Ardente, as Ravi mentioned. So where like we are working together and making things, helping organizations to empirically improve business outcomes. And that's how, like as Ravi mentioned, we started working together. The other is Rezoomex, where we help companies accelerate product delivery using AI copilots, product playbook, and smart contracts. So that brings real trust and transparency to product deliveries. So recently, like my focus shifted from like traditional, purely engineering or technology driven to applying how AI can be used in practical ways and to figuring out how to make it available for everyone and how that makes our life better. So that way. So apart from these two, I spend my time building tools and apps around, and my working style on that goes all the way from everything AI to everything handcrafted. So I often swing in those two levels. So yeah, that's me, Nikhil, and Ravi. Back to you. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you, Nikhil. So I think the reason I'm excited to have Nikhil here is that he and I, we bring very diverse experiences. I haven't coded, last time I coded was I think 2001 or 2002, and Nikhil codes every single day. So we want to bring different perspectives, and that's why I'm excited about this conversation. All right, so what are we noticing? So Nikhil, I'd love for you to jump in. Nikhil is noticing a bunch of things as the CTO of Rezoomex. He's talking to so many people who are trying to integrate AI in their work, and I am noticing from in conversations with my partners, some of whom are outsourcing companies, and the patterns that we are that we have noticed is one is there is pressure for a lot of companies from their board of directors that you have to use AI, and there seems to be two kinds of anxieties. One is the pressure is use AI to cut cost and let people go, replace people. Otherwise, we will get left behind. And the second is innovation. Our competitors are going to use AI to accelerate the delivery of new features, innovative features, so we'll get left behind. So it feels like board of directors, investors, and management, they are experiencing this fear-based anxiety. Oh my God, if I don't use AI everything everywhere all at once, I will get left behind. We've also seen some organizations who are scared. They're scared that AI is, their LLM is going to steal their trade secrets, or they will get hacked, or their secrets will get exposed to just the world or bad actors. And so there are some people, probably in the minority, who are saying, no, we're never going to use AI. And in this conversation, we want to offer a more nuanced approach to tell you that maybe it's not always AI for everything in your company, and maybe it's not never AI, but maybe there's a nuanced third way. And what we want to offer in this conversation is that third way. So, Nikhil, what would you like to add in terms of what you are noticing in the industry?
Yeah. So I would like to add, like draw a parallel line here. So you were talking about like from the business and company's perspective. So in the like similar lines on the engineering side, what I've been seeing, right? So there are some people who are like everything they will use AI. Like like even for scheduling something reminder, which are definitely there in the calendars, right? So there are rule-based systems which we already have, but they will use it. Like it's like having a hammer and then seeing everything as nail, right? So we like engineers, like excited engineers like me are of that level, right? So we end up trying to fit everything to that. But then there are others who are like, no, like come on, this is not going to be possible with AI. Like AI can't get this done as well. So I've seen those as well. Like, oh yeah, this is traditional language, like legacy language. It won't understand. We have a massive code base. And then there are like people who are confused that, okay, I don't know whether I should do it or not that way. But one thing which I've been noticing is with help of AI, what has happened is we all are pushed one level above. Like at least on engineering side, I'm seeing that you are going to direct someone or like help someone to understand and get work done. So even an intern will have like a intern to work with. So like this AI tool. So that's what I've been seeing, and people are having that early promotion due to this. So getting used to that takes time.
Yeah.
So that's my observations.
Yeah, and I recently read a summary of a presentation that Mark Cuban made at a local conference in Dallas about his thoughts about AI. And one of my other
Mhm.
colleagues had also given an analogy that AI is like a very excited, enthusiastic intern who never gets tired.
Yes.
So
Yes.
what you said, Nikhil, reminds me that we got a promotion as a team lead, and now you have this very excited intern who's desperate to impress you. But this intern can move very fast and it can go very far, but it can also often go in the wrong direction, which is why this intern needs guidance. And that's why we all got a
Yes.
promotion to become a team lead. We have to harness the power of this intern. This intern never sleeps, never gets hungry, never gets thirsty. And you just got to guide the intern.
Yeah. Yeah. Very appropriate
Yeah.
analogy. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we want to introduce the nuanced third way. So we've been thinking about how can we give our audience a decision-making framework where we don't give you the answer, but we instead give you a bunch of questions that will help you find the right answer. So my life coach, Joy Perkins, often used to say, the quality of life is determined by the quality of questions that we ask. And I feel as coaches, as teachers, our job is not to be experts, not to be pretend to be experts in the unique context of our clients or our students, because we are not the experts. We are not the content authority. That's what they say in the world of coaching. We are the process authority. So we don't know the nuances of your context, but we want to offer you questions you can answer in your context so that it helps your team discover the best answer in that moment. And you won't always be right, but our process should help you detect and recover from mistakes and be resilient. So that's what we are trying to offer here. So we were thinking, and the inspiration came from two sources. One was I was having a conversation with my middle schooler, and a lot of epiphanies for me as a parent come through conversations from with my children, because my children look at the world with a fresh pair of eyes, and they help me get back in touch with my wonder of the world and chip away the jaded experience of a guy who's almost 51 years old. And then my conversation with my daughter led me back to another memory I had of a practice or set of practices called Management 3.0. So if you're not familiar with them, this is a body of work. It's a philosophy created by Jürgen Epelo. There's a book, and then there's training to support it. There are free tools on the website. Basically, Jürgen's philosophy and this framework is to help to build great organizations. And there's one particular practice, which is delegation poker. So I was introduced to this through the scrum.org professional scrum trainer community. And this practice will help you if you find that in your company there is a lot of chaos and misunderstanding about who should be doing what, who has power to make what kind of decisions. And there's a lot of conflict because of this. Delegation poker is a technique that may help you. So what I did was I took delegation poker, I integrated it with ideas from my middle school daughter, and then the 7 levels of AI delegation were born. So let me give you a quick walkthrough to the 7 levels of AI delegation. So I'm offering that there are 7 possible ways to engage with AI or not engage with AI. The first is some situations I argue that you should never ever use AI. And I might be an outdated person, I might be like a dinosaur, but this is what I feel. You don't have to agree with me. I'll like give you an example of where I think this may fall. The second is you consult AI, you see the answer, you give AI a prompt, you give the LLM a prompt, you get the results, and then you forget about AI. You just do it the old-fashioned way. The intern has given you some draft. Now you polish up the draft and you adapt the work of the intern. The third is you give a prompt, you give the intern some instructions, the intern comes back, gives you a proposal. And now instead of you polishing the proposal and perfecting it yourself, you challenge the intern to raise the level of their performance. So you keep prompting and reprompting. And when you see gaps, instead of you fixing the gaps, you challenge AI, you go fix it. Here are some criteria, do better. And then give me a revised draft. Level 4 is you keep training the intern because it's a situation where you might need to do that task thousands of times. And if you invest the upfront cost of training your intern so that their work is like 99.99% of the quality that you expect, the investment you are making upfront will pay dividends in the future, and you will get a profit in the future, because for the next thousand times when you need to do this repetitive task, you're not going to have to invest time to polish up the work of the intern, because you train the intern and the AI, and the AI is going to create high quality artifacts you can just release to the market. The next is you delegate it to the AI, and they give you something, maybe it's reached a level of almost like perfection, 100%, and you're like, okay, this looks good, you're just making sure, and then you release it to the market. One other level is you have so much confidence in AI that you allow it to interact with your customers and users, and after it's deployed to production, deployed to the market, maybe you do some spot checking after it has already been exposed to your customer, whatever the work is, the feature is. And finally, the highest level of delegation would be you have so much faith in the performance of your AI that you don't even check. It's out there, it's interacting with your customers and users, and you don't even bother to check, is it doing what you thought you wanted it to do? If you notice, the 7 levels fall into 3 broad categories. Level 1 is please avoid it, don't use AI. Levels 2, 3, and 4, AI creates the initial artifact, but then the human is making the changes. It's more like the AI is a consultant, but the human makes the final decisions. And levels 5, 6, and 7, it's almost like you outsourced it, and the bulk of the work and responsibility lies with AI. Okay. So I want to pause here. And I want to see if anyone has any clarifying questions or a reaction to this model. Like I said, all models are wrong. Some are useful. So if you have any questions, please, or reactions, share them with me. And then once Nikhil and I have answered as many questions as we can, I want to illustrate the use of this model with a parenting example. And Nikhil, please add anything else you would like to add about the model while we are waiting for questions.
Yeah.
So it takes some time to formulate questions. I'm just going to monitor and give you a few, maybe 30 to 60 seconds if you want to share your reactions. And then you can always type in your reactions and questions along the way. I'll be monitoring. Both Nikhil and I will be monitoring. Okay, so it looks like at this point there aren't any questions. So I'm going to move forward. So let's use the example of parenting. So this is where this whole story started. Oh, so my daughter was getting ready to create some project for science fair. And so she was talking to me about how their school was encouraging them to use AI. Uh, and one of the actions that she had to do as part of her science fair was, so she was working in a small group, and the teacher had told them that the title slide, there had to be one slide which showed the photos of the students who made the project, and possibly some short videos. So if I were to use this model, I've heard about where I would be comfortable with my daughter using AI for this action, this task in the science project. I would say never use AI. And the reason I say this is, without giving you too many graphic details, I've heard of some pretty terrible things that LLMs have done with photographs, and especially children's photographs. So I don't trust any LLM or any tech company with the photographs of my children. So I told my daughter, never ever upload your photos or videos, or the photos or videos of any student into any LLM. What if my daughter is running into a lot of conflicts with her group? They're not able to sort it out, and she's coming home and she says, Daddy, I am so stressed out. I don't feel like going to school anymore. I think I need some therapy. Would I trust LLM with therapy for my child? Never. I don't know if you've been following the news, but there are some people who have started using LLMs for therapy, and it has had some pretty severe, irreversible results. I see a hand raised. So, uh, Molly, would you like to ask a question or share a reaction? You can type any thoughts in the chat window or in the Q&A panel. Oh, accidental. Okay, sorry about that. Okay.
Okay.
Now let's say they want to, my daughter wants to create a cover slide. Her science project group wants to create a cover slide. As long as there are no children's photographs there, I don't mind if she prompts AI to maybe create an image or a layout of the cover slide. AI comes back because she uses Canva AI all the time. So she asks Canva AI to create some kind of a graphic. It comes back, and then she and her classmates, they polished it up to create the cover slide for their project. One of the assignments for the science project was imagine that you could create an alien world that had any qualities that you wanted. What kind of an animal would live in that world? So she wanted to create an alien mouse. So she gave AI, Canva AI challenge, and she said, create an image of an alien mouse. And then Canva AI came back and gave created an image. And then she kept prompting it until it had the number of legs and maybe antenna or whatever colored that she wanted it to get. Still okay, got an initial response. And if she had created that drawing by herself, it may have taken her a long time. So she was okay with investing money in reprompting Canva AI to adapt that alien mouse. One thing that they need to do, now I'm switching from this particular science project, but across all projects, one thing that the teachers in my daughter's school tell all students to do is when you refer to a source in your research, make sure it's a credible source. And then they've given some heuristic about what kind of sources are likely to be more trustworthy than others. Maybe a .edu or maybe a .gov source may be more reliable than others. So this is something that she has to do over and over again. I can imagine that if she were to train an AI agent, this could be worth the investment, that whenever she feeds in a bunch of research articles, that she trains the AI agent to separate out the extremely reliable sources, somewhat reliable, and then completely unreliable. So I could see that's an example where she would use the consultant train level of AI delegation. Now let's imagine that the science fair is coming up and the teacher asked the students, guys, work together and send an email to all the parents inviting them to the science fair. Make sure that it has the location, it has the timing, anything else you want them to know to entice them to join. One possible way is you feed it into Canva AI or some such email forming tool, and then it spits out the result, and then you pre-check, is the date okay, is the location okay, is the salutation, all the details, are they okay? And then the human in the loop goes and makes any changes, and the human sends the email out to the mailing list. If you have a higher risk tolerance, you may just authorize some AI tool or LLM to say, I trust you, go and send the email out. And then after the email goes out to the parents, then maybe one of the students will go and ask their parent, hey, did you get the email about the science fair? And then just check, is it what we wanted it to be? And if not, then you do a cleanup, and a human being will then send another email to say, I'm sorry, location was wrong, date was wrong, here's the correct location or date. If you have a higher risk tolerance and a greater faith in AI, maybe the teacher says, guys, I trust this LLM, just tell the LLM to draft the email and then send it out, and we don't even need to check it. I'm pretty confident it's going to do the right thing. So this is a very flawed example, but I wanted to illustrate some of these are real examples of how my daughter's class, middle school class, is using AI. And this one was just like a contrived example. So let me pause here. I want to invite some feedback, either Nikhil, anything you want to add, or if anyone has a reaction or a question about using this model in a very simple parenting example.
So while we wait for like if someone has any questions, so what I read from this is it's mainly on the risk and reversibility. So how much risk we can take,
Yeah.
and if that action can that be reversed, or can we mitigate that? So it's structured based on that. Like they were
Yes.
concerned, like we can't, like that's not at all reversible. Whatever
Yes.
is there, so we should not use it unless
Yes.
we know pretty sure what's
Yes.
happening. And whereas other side is like completely,
Yeah.
yeah, we are okay with that risk.
Yeah, I think that's a great way of looking at it. How much risk am I willing to tolerate? And when is the damage not recoverable?
Yeah,
If you trust AI with therapy and somebody goes and commits suicide, there's no recovery. If AI releases, like Anthropic released the source code of Claude, I think, if I'm not sorry, Claude released the source code, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, yeah,
Or if AI releases the social security numbers of all of your clients and now they are on the dark web, it'll be hard to recover from that. Maybe not irreversible, but it's very painful. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to invite Nikhil to use an example from SaaS product development. So Nikhil and I, we are working together to build a SaaS product called Aldente, where we want to create a scoreboard that will help organizations measure and manage lead and lag indicators for the ROI of their software product development. And Nikhil is going to use an example on how he uses AI as a CTO. So Nikhil, I'm going to go to the next slide, and please take it over.
sure. Yeah, thank you, Ravi. So what I have done here is we have taken example of like one feature, and yeah, within that feature, what all levels, like which all places we can use it. There are some stages which we haven't skipped, or like those don't match with the that particular feature, but we'll just go through it. So first, which is like there are some decisions which AI simply like no place has no place over there. So anything involved with user credentials or sensitive data or orders, like those are irreversible actions. So our credibility, the trust with the business is there. So there is like strictly human nature that okay, humans should be handling the user data and credentials that way. Like it's similar to the PI information, like the way it's handled into medical domains that way. The next is like we can invite AI for the brainstorming partner, right? So okay, let's see what are the different options for sign up. Then that's where we expand. AI helps us expand our thinking, but we are still in that driving seat. Right? So we are deciding what's happening and everything to do with that. So it's just helping us to expand our thoughts that way. Next one is where AI becomes helpful in terms of thinking partner. So in this sign up flow, we ask AI like, okay, poke holes into my assumptions and find out what are the edge cases I'm missing that way. So that's where we'll use the consult and challenge bucket. So where it helps us to like see our own blind spots that way. Then in the next stage, like we are training AI in a way that we are giving it business context. So where users are, where they are coming from, what they are trying to do, etc. So the more context AI has, it delivers better results every time. So as things get add up, it knows more about the business. The next time it's going to take less time or it's going to give you concrete results. Then once we come to the delegate side, so let's say we need to plan for this sign up flow. So we decide that okay, these are like let's say APIs we need. So let's work on defining that contracts between UI and backend. Those now again here we are pre-checking and feeding in all the information what we expect it to do, and then it just gets that particular thing done. And so it's not given a full leash that okay, go and do whatever you want, but a specific task in the next level. So this is where like some delegation where it can do. I won't call it as autonomously, but at least some level of on its own it can do. Like create sign up page UI. So we have defined everything. It has all the context, everything. So it can create that UI. Or another example to this is which is like writing test cases for this. No, it knows right where are my users, what all things they will be doing, and why they are here. So it can create that page. It can write those test cases around that. And then after it is generated, I'll go and review that. Okay, is everything covered? Is it good enough for me? And then in the last one, which is like may not be related to this particular feature what we are discussing, but it's like let's say my mailbox is there, and then I want to opt out of all the promotional emails. But here it's basically the stakes are lower. We can undo things at max. I'll opt out of some emails which I care about. I can go and resubscribe it that way. So now in all these stages, like as we were discussing, the risk is keep on reducing as we go towards the right side. uh, you might have seen some posts about vibe coding where people are like vibe coding in YOLO mode, right? So you live only once, kind of. So they give all permissions to AI and then let it build it. But now, probably one thing which other miss out is these people are still building those out in a controlled environment. So they don't run it on their primary machine. They run it on a separate machine where the files are like they don't have their personal files, or they have secured area onto their machine where the restricted access is. So that's how. So if you are going to try out AI into this delegate and forget mode, make sure that you have all the guardrails around. So in all these steps, there are guardrails which are like getting added in the previous step, and then only you can move. So overall, AI is like probably you might have heard it multiple times. It's a garbage in, garbage out system, right? So the output depends heavily on what input we are giving mainly. LLMs are there, but like a majority of part, they are out of our control. So what input we give, that's context and input that we give, that's in our control. So it's all like we have to balance that out. So yeah, that's from my side, Ravi.
Thank
Over
you,
to you.
Nikhil. Yeah, I think context, how much context shall I give to the AI? What input do I give to the AI? And then how much control do I give to the AI? Those are some questions we would like you to answer. And I recently read that OpenClaw is becoming very popular. And there are some people who are installing OpenClaw on their laptop and giving all the passwords, all the permissions, and then you're sleeping. The best case scenario is when you wake up in the morning, OpenClaw did a whole bunch of things. Maybe if you're looking for a job, went and applied for a lot of jobs. The downside is OpenClaw could have deleted all of your files, could have deleted all of your emails. So it's a double-edged sword. So context and then input and the control, those are three things that we want you to be very thoughtful about. I want to pause here, see if anyone has any clarifying questions about how Nikhil illustrated use of this model in a software product development context, any reactions, what would you do different? Or do you have an area that you are thinking of using AI for in your company where your intuition is saying there is a risk? And so if you want to offer a question to us, we can run it through the model and see how we would handle it. So I'll give you maybe a few seconds to share any questions or comments if you have any. Just monitoring the webinar chat and Q&A.
Mhm.
And while we are doing that, I just read an article in the New York Times by, I think, Thomas Friedman, the guy who wrote The World is Flat. And he was talking about Anthropic. I think Anthropic has a new model called Mythos. And it
Yes.
has detected vulnerabilities in almost every browser and every operating system in the world. And when Anthropic realized this, they decided not to release Mythos to the world, general public, because they were worried that if it gets in the hands of bad actors, then the bad actors will use Mythos to hack into any browser, any operating system. So right now they've created a consortium of 40 companies who they feel are trustworthy, and they're sharing this information with those 40 companies, some of whom are actually Anthropic competitors, because they want these companies to plug these vulnerabilities before the bad actors detect them. So this is just an example of the control, the input, and context that you have to be careful about.
Yeah. So on the similar lines, what I have seen is in that our section where like some data we should not share. In terms of code generators or co-pilots, what I've observed is if you accidentally keep something which is has secrets, etc. So there are some tools which highlight that as well. Like, look, this is present in your repo. It's readable to everyone. So please make sure it's hidden. They share you like, okay, what are the ways you can hide it from us as well, like from the tools. So they guide you. So there are like there is some work being done on the ethical AI side of it. So that's been seen.
Yeah. And my understanding is that if you're on a free model, free version, free subscription, then you are probably a few versions behind. But also, please look at the licensing agreement. It's possible that if
Yeah.
you're on the free version, any data that you are sending is being used to train the LLM. So if you are putting trade secrets in there, it's possible that tomorrow your competitor will have access to your trade secrets because the model is going to be trained on it. Also, tech companies may not always have the best record in terms of ethical behavior. So recently there was a lawsuit in California where the judgment went against YouTube and I think Meta, where they did some very unethical things that hurt children. And there's also been previously documented whistleblower accounts about how Meta did some pretty, they knew that I think it was Instagram algorithms were harming teenage girls to the point that some teenage girls committed suicide. Meta knew that. And despite knowing that, they continued those algorithms because it was in their monetary interest, because they were making money. So even if you look at the licensing agreement and you're on a paid account with an LLM, um, and even if they tell you that we are not going to use your data in a way that harms you, I would say look at the history and realize that these companies are run by flawed human beings and they don't always have your best interest in heart. So please be careful about protecting yourself and your customers. All right. Let me start wrapping this up. So we don't. It doesn't look like there are too many any questions. So what are the next steps? If you found our thoughts useful, you can follow Nikhil and me. If we are not already connected, you can send us a connection request. If you want to run some ideas by us, if you have specific areas in your company that you are considering to delegate to AI, and you want a second perspective, an external perspective to guard against the risk, you can always go to our contact us page or send us a DM on LinkedIn and request a free consultation if our schedule permits. We'd be happy to do that. With that, I think that brings us to the end of this presentation. I don't want to use up your time for no reason. So I hope that this was useful. If you found it useful, I'd love for you to join us again. And then if you have friends who may benefit, then I would love for you to spread the word about our meetup. So, Nikhil, thank you so much. Any closing thoughts, Nikhil, from you before we wrap up?
I guess we covered like pretty covered almost different areas into it. So one point which like you mentioned towards the end was about like making sure that how your data is being used.
Mhm.
So these tools offer you to protect your data as well. So make sure you know what you're doing. and make sure you enable or disable those settings appropriately. So that will keep you protected from the data perspective. Be open to technologies. Like I'm being the technologist. I always believe that technology is there for our betterment. So yeah, be open to it, but let's be just careful when we use.
Yeah. And my last thought would be I feel like there is no LLM that is stronger, smarter, wiser than your team LLM. So human intelligence will trump artificial intelligence. If you have great team members, and if you're doing a good
Mm,
job of hiring and inspiring your team members, be vulnerable and ask them what could go wrong? How can we protect our customers, users, investors, and our team from the risks of AI? If your team feels that they are cared for, that you care about them, they will go use their network, their lived experience to come up with a risk management plan to harness the power of AI while protecting you from the risks of AI. So I feel your best line of defense will be an inspired team who feels that you care about them. So no intelligence is smarter than your community intelligence. So build a strong community and lean on your community to protect yourself and your company from the risks of AI. So I hope that was useful. Until our next conversation, thank you and bye bye. And I hope to see you all next time.
yeah. Thank you. Bye bye.